hoping for a cleaner run into turn one. For those of you that didn't catch the first race, we're going to be doing a short formation lap. That means they're starting just before the Parabolica corner, so it will be around 30 seconds or so, perhaps, until the green lights.
Yep, so again, the same applies as did the first race. The drivers will be looking for a clean and a neat entry into T1. You cannot win a race on the first turn, but you can lose one for sure. And as we saw last time out, several drivers got held up in incidents and lost their opportunity for that all-important top four finish.
Absolutely, and it is the fight for top four that really matters here.
Yep, certainly.
Being fifth is absolutely useless, unfortunately, to anyone here, because they have no ability to get back in the competition.
And that's right. And Chris, if that was you out on circuit, what do you do in a T1? Do you attack? Do you play it safe? How would you approach this?
I think if you're at the front, you have to attack. You have to use your speed. You have to try and run away. But if you're in the midfield, discretion is the better part of valour.
Yes, I agree, because obviously the danger, such a long straight into such a tight corner, if you're braking early to give yourself some leeway to the cars in front, and that's not recognised by a car behind, you have exactly the same situation that we had last time out. You make some contact and you've got
it was only a
yourself
small
train
contact.
wreck.
Well, this wasn't a massive wreck. This was just the tiniest of margins of error, and it can cause massive chaos.
Absolutely. Now I'm looking past the camera and I can see the final instructions are being given to the drivers in the rig, so we're only moments away.
Here
folks, and there we go, perfect timing. So formation lap, it's going to be a rolling start, and we're going to roll up to the start finish line. It's up to the leader to set the pace of the field as we approach what is hopefully 20 minutes of good quality, hard and fair racing. So, the grid's looking beautiful, isn't it? Plenty of wonderful cars, plenty of wonderful liveries. The Lamborghini just applying the brakes, bunching the field back a little bit. We're about to go green. The cars are crossing the grid markings. We're looking for a green light. Everybody's lining up, and we are getting ready to go in 3, 2, 1... And they're off, right, so it's a little bit of a late start there, but we're going now. The Lamborghini's got a good start. The Jaguar's on the inside. It's looking like a bravery game into T1 as the cars behind are fanning out to all finding track position. It's quite a hesitant start. Good on the brakes there.
Very clean for turn one.
Yeah, very clean. So the rest of the field all look like they've made it through. That's an outstanding start for everybody, and there's a little bit of advantage already for the Lamborghini in P1. It's looking to break the toe, Chris, almost immediately, right from the very get-go.
That is as good a start as you can get. He got a better run-off of the green light, and the Emilfray Jag was bogged down, it has to be said. He's, as far as anyone can say, that's as good a start as you can get.
And there's a little bit of an incident further back, and that's a Lamborghini being pushed out there. That's Nerby being pushed out. That is unfortunate. He got involved in somebody else's incident.
3 wide into Della Roggia is always going to end badly.
Always going to end badly as we go on board with Gamel. He's dropped to P9 now and is looking to challenge the BMW, just showing the inside of the corner. Not a real passing overtaking opportunity.
Looks very confident in the car at the moment as he lines up the BMW ahead.
Fantastic. He's got a good run now. He's got a good run coming down the straight, so this is going to be a case of who is bravest on the brakes. Gamel not in the ideal position to effect an overtake, but it's worth a chance on this opening lap. Late on the brakes. Oh, beautiful. Bravo.
That's excellent work there.
That's some fantastic right driving from both drivers there. The BMW knew when the game was gone and backed out of it and avoided an incident, and Gamel now moves himself up to P8, so that's a good recovery from a slightly slower start than he would have hoped.
You have to respect Maximilian Verde in the Roa Racing BMW there. The room he gave was just enough. He didn't outbrake himself, and quality racing from both drivers.
Absolutely. It's a short, long race, so there's no point putting yourself in a risky position at this stage. There's still plenty of track action to go. So at the moment, Jakowski's leading. Mike Noble is in P2. He's dropped a little bit of time as we're watching Josh Martin under pressure in P5 from one of his teammates. Martin's hoping to use the advantage of the slipstream of the car in front to defend and attack at the same time.
Like Tamil has already caught the car in front, the Lamborghini in front of him, and they're battling on their way down to the Della Roggia chicane.
Milner actually is having a really good performance. He's showing a lot of fighting spirit, and
not a bad 3 or 4 corners, is it?
Oh, there's a little bit of contact with the car in front, but it's nothing that's going to upset anybody. Everybody makes it through the chicane cleanly. Gamel's going to be looking for a good corner exit, Chris, to see if he can line him up into the next section of corners.
He clearly has a lot of pace in that car at the moment. As we saw the advantage he held through the Lesmos last lap. Let's see if he can continue that this time and get a toe down towards Ascari.
And of course, now we're looking at the battle for P4. P4, again, to remind everybody, is the important finishing positions, and it's these 4, 5 cars trying to share the same bit of tarmac here. Going under the bridge. Now this, to remind you all, the top 4 is the important finishing positions. These 3 cars are teammates. They're fighting tooth and nail. They're racing for the team, Chris, but they're racing for themselves as well.
Josh Martin under serious pressure from both of those other Ombra Racing livery Lamborghinis there. That's going to be a tough ask to keep those 2 cars behind. And Tarek Gamil coming through the field quickly behind as well.
This is going to be, it's critical now for Gamil at the back of the grid, at the back of this group. It's critical he moves forward and he doesn't lose touch.
He is very close to the Ombra Racing Lamborghini in front now. This is going to be a slipstream all the way down to the Rettifilio chicane.
We've got a virtual motor race on our hands here, haven't we? This is brilliant. So look, Gamil now has got an outstanding run into the first chicane. Does he risk it under braking, or does it? Yes, he's going for it. He's going for it, Chris. He's going to be last at the late breakers. Make sure he doesn't connect the car in front.
Has to take a lot of the curb, which isn't the ideal line there, but still excellent side-by-side racing, clean side-by-side racing.
And now he's under pressure. The age-old problem with a track like Monza, you attack, it doesn't work out, you come under pressure from behind, and then you're starting to look in your rear-view mirror, and the BMW has closed right up and joined what is turned into be an outstanding bit of track activity now.
And those Ombra Racing Lamborghinis are closing up on the leaders as well. This is a tight fight.
This is anybody's at the moment, absolutely anybody's. Up front at the very head of the pack, there's a 1.76 gap between P1 and P2, so they're starting to settle down a little bit now. Further back, another 1.9 seconds away is McFarlane, but the real action is where Josh Martin, his teammates, and Gamil bringing it up from the Verdig as well in the BMW, bringing up the back of that little pack. This is going to be absolutely blink and you miss it activity.
From 4th to 9th place are separated by a handful of seconds, bumper to bumper. This is excellent stuff.
And actually McFarlane now in P3 is starting to get reeled in by this pack as they're making use of the slipstream to overall improve their the performance and bring it into a 6-car fight already.
6-car Lamborghini fight joined by one BMW.
Go BMW against the Lamborghinis. Absolutely fantastic. Now, McFarlane needs to be careful. At the moment, he can afford to lose one position, yet still qualify. But if he makes even the slightest mistake, there's going to be 5 cars sailing straight past him here. It's dangerous times for the Black Lambo.
It's going to be very difficult to lose just one position in a fight here.
Absolutely.
You're pushed offline, and then it costs you for the next whole sector.
So we're on board now with Josh Martin, who's currently P4. Josh has closed the gap and he's not breaking away, particularly from the car behind him, although they are starting to gap the field a little bit further back now. Nothing significant, but these fractions of a second are incredibly important when you're in a tight race like this.
Absolutely.
So, sorry, Chris, go on now. Go on.
Absolutely. I was just going to say that from McFarlane back to Verdi are all on the same screen most of the time. This is 3rd through 9th place.
You can literally throw a blanket across these cars and you would capture everybody in scene. So Martin seems to have lost a little bit of time to McFarlane in front as we've got GT3 cars revving up incredibly loudly and distractedly behind us. So Martin now, this is a critical moment for him. What do you do in this situation? Do you concentrate on your mirrors and look to minimise mistakes and make it a wide Lamborghini, or do you charge and push in an attempt to get that final podium position?
With the luxury of 0.7 of a second, I think at this stage he needs to just concentrate on every corner entry, every apex, every exit, just to maximise it, because there are 5 guys behind that are all lapping at a similar pace, and the slightest mistake will be absolutely devastating.
And everybody's hungry, of course, for that 4th position, so although I'm sure he'll have a great time looking back on this race, at this moment in time the pressure is all on Josh Martin to perform and not to make a mistake as he runs wide in the Parabolica, but not too critical. That's not going to lose him any time, and
he has brought the car behind into the slipstream though.
This is going to be interesting into T1. Will the car behind just show a nose to try and put Martin off and look to get him coming out of the corner?
It doesn't look like he's close enough this time, but if he has a clean run through the chicane, the run down to Della Roggia will be very interesting indeed.
And actually, Bedin seems to be a little bit better on the brakes than Martin coming into that chicane, and has closed up yet further, so the gap now is just over 0.4 of a second, which is something that the next big long straight section can be annihilated through slipstream. The race is heating up now. This is going to be a big moment.
I don't think this is going to stop for the final 12 minutes of the race. I think we're going to be watching these guys battle it out for the rest of the race, Paul.
I think you're absolutely right, and while we are watching these guys, just to give you at home a quick update, the lead now is 2.7 seconds from Mike Noble, with Ross McFarlane a further 6 seconds back. So those gaps are starting to grow at the front of the pack. The action is absolutely in this 4th to 8th place battle, 8th, 9th place battle, 10th place battle, where it's anybody's guess what's going to happen over the course of the next 11 minutes and 30 seconds.
The fighting Lamborghinis behind has given McFarlane just a little bit of breathing space there, so it looked earlier in the race like he may be drawn back into that battle, but looking a bit safer now than he was a couple of laps ago, Paul.
And that's the beauty of a race such as this, where the grid is so close. McFarlane will have made a conscious decision that rather than defend and protect his line, he's just getting his head down while these other guys are occupied fighting each other, and that's paying off now for Ross McFarlane. He's now broken the slipstream, I think it's fair to say. Josh Martin's actually starting to stamp in a few laps and gap a little bit the car behind.
Are definitely stabilised. They're coming down, but they're coming down in a more stable way than they were. And it looks like these drivers are really starting to get into a rhythm.
And of course, the cars are changing, the track surface is changing, the balance of the car, as we spoke about in the last race, is moving. As that's the BMW actually showing his nose a little bit in P9, just letting the Lamborghini in front know that he's there and giving him something to think about in what is a very difficult breaking point on the track.
What's very interesting about this, Paul, is that it looked earlier in the race like Verdi had the pace. He was the guy that was on it right from the word go. He was the guy moving forward. But now the race seems to be swinging towards some of the other cars.
I think that's very true, and that could be a case of, is it too much, too soon, and now he's needing to recover and cool his tyres down.
Oh, as Verdi loses it in the BMW.
That's so poor Verdi in the BMW, just too much, overcooked it, and that's taken him out of contention. Luckily, I think the car avoided contact with the wall, so he should resume.
Paul, he'll be able to resume, but that will be in last place, I believe.
That's a real pity from what has been a very, very strong drive up to that point. But that was at the back of the little challenging pack that we had. So again, the proximity of the car still remains. The race is still very much on, heading past now into the second half of the silver event. Really good racing.
The first 10 minutes has absolutely flown by as we're still watching this Lamborghini battle.
Absolutely, and it'll also be a lesson that you take your eye off the screen for more than a second, somebody spins and you miss it. So there we go.
We have two screens.
I know, and I took my eye off both of them. But really, really good. Now Tarek, he's a guy that was pushing hard at the beginning as well, dropped a little bit from his qualifying position, but seemed to be really on fire, and he's got now a massive gap from Tatelli. Is 9.2 seconds between P8 and P9, so Tarek can afford to throw caution to the wind in his pursuit of getting further up the field. Absolutely not. As we're watching Boris Dupree, we're watching the camera back from P10 at the challenging Lamborghini. Is he going to look up the inside into the T1 chicane? Does he go for a last of the late breakers move? Yes, he does. He's pulled out of the slipstream. He's late on the brakes. Oh, this is going to be tight. No, he pulls back in. Sensible driving there, Chris.
Yep, Boris in the Walkenhorst Racing BMW just had him covered there. It looked like under braking that BMW is absolutely excellent. If you've driven it yourself, Paul, you'll know it's a car that you can be really confident on the brakes of.
Absolutely, and I think in an environment like this where you're racing against other people in a pressure cooker environment like this, you have to be confident that you can get the overlap on braking into a corner like T1. Otherwise, much like he did, you take the wise move, you come out of it and you live to fight another day again.
He looks very planted through Lesmo there, while the Lamborghini ahead looked like it had a bit of an oversteer moment. And again.
Oh, and he's run onto the grass. Right, that's it. Now the car's got past. We need to be very careful now in the Lamborghini that it doesn't get overtaken again and start plummeting. Very difficult when you lose your rhythm and you lose the feeling that you've got with a moment like that. He needs to recover. He's got it.
Oh, that's a dive from behind. That's going to be contact.
Oh, that's a disappointing move. That was a very, very late dive in a difficult corner, and that's cost.
I would describe that as hopeful.
Hopeful is
optimistic.
Optimistic is an optimistic way of putting it, most certainly, and that just goes to show you've got to be certain in what you're doing. He saw an opportunity, he saw a gap that didn't exist, and that cost significantly, and that's dropped him back as we filter back again to this fight for P4. It's actually McFarlane, Noble, and the leader Jakovsky have completely checked out now. They're well up the road.
He's now got a 3.5 second lead from at the front.
And we've not spoken about him much because he's not been in the heat of the battle, but that is a phenomenal performance to step away from a quality grid of cars and drivers. So we're on board now with Bedin in P5. He's 1 place away from qualifying for tomorrow's final.
1 place and 3/10, Paul.
1 place, that's nothing, and we've still got 6 minutes and 30 seconds. As a driver, it must be getting to the point. Does it get to the point now where desperation starts to set in? As he gets an incredibly good run, actually. This is probably the best opportunity so far in this race he's had.
Lamborghini gets a bit messy on the apex of Lesmo 2 there, which will not have helped him in his pursuit.
And you're going to lose that lap time all the way down this straight as well from that mistake. So at the time I first started speaking, it looked like he were lining up a move, but I think excitement and anticipation maybe got a little bit of the better of him, a bit greedy on the loud pedal, and
I believe that is occurrence number 2 of the commentator's curse today, Paul.
It is. We should not talk about anybody and just talk in general terms and not risk it.
Here we go though.
We've got to move further back here now, so this is for P6 and P7 just behind this car. There we go, into Parabolica. Always a dangerous time to pass, but he's braving it round the outside. Now that's brave. He gets a little bit twitchy on the rear. Got to be careful not to get out onto the slippy stuff on the outside. And Gamel's looking at this and thinking, I smell an opportunity coming down the start-finish straight. As Pastorino stays on the outside, coming into the first turn. And again, do you, don't you, go last-minute break? Let's find out what's going to happen here. Yeah, oh, that's superb.
Wonderful late braking on the inside.
But it's not over yet.
Contention.
Now can they keep it clean as they come out of the corner? Gamble, he's ready to hunt a killer, ready to pounce to the back if these two cars get it wrong.
Are we going to go 3 wide into Della Roggia again, Paul?
This is tense stuff, actually. It's almost I want to be quiet and just watch what's happening. It's incredible.
Here we go, on board with Pastorino in the right side of the track.
He's going to get the overlap here. I think Gamel's getting looking aggressive in the background as well, and he takes the pass.
Beautifully done.
Fantastic move, beautiful move. And Gamel looking to pounce now. He's got the outside. Oh. This is what we're speaking about, Chris. You make one mistake or you get overtaken, you lose your rhythm, you're hung out to dry. 2 cars past 1 corner. Fantastic racing between these 3.
Absolutely, and very clean, respectful driving as well.
Which we've seen throughout this competition. These guys know how to race hard but fair, and fair's the important thing there, I think. So we've got these battles, though, just to remind you all, are outside of the top 4, so these guys almost need to work together a little bit to bring themselves closer to the points-paying positions.
That being said, this is the ultimate battle for 5th place, this stream of cars. So all it takes is one mistake from the group ahead.
Absolutely. So actually 4 and 5 have become detached a little bit now from 6, 7, 8 and 9. So the 4th and 5th place cars were on board at the moment with Bedin in P5. This is where the final qualifying for the Sunday final race, this is where the actions are, Chris.
Absolutely. Carlo Bedin in the number 16 Umbra racing car there has been following Josh Martin about 3/10 behind for 4 or 5 laps now.
So what do you suspect's happening here? Is he following him to understand Josh Martin's strengths and weaknesses and he's saving the attack for later in the race? Or is this 2 people going at it hammer and tongs at their absolute maximum?
A single inch is being given there. I think this is 2 drivers giving it everything.
And it's a good performance from Martin to withstand this length of pressure for this amount of time with such a big prize at stake is a very good drive from both drivers. It's a shame that the fighting further back in 6th and 7th and 8th has put them out of contention to be in a 5-car fight, but still, even further down the field, there's a little bit of dirt kicked up from the car in front there that will give heart to Martin and Bedin that there's still more to play for.
It's interesting watching the onboard from Bedin back towards Josh Martin. How much the car is squirming as he puts on the power out of both the first and the second Lesmo there.
And that is, again, that's a mix of pressures, of tyres going away, of the surface changing. Now this is interesting. Martin got it wrong into the chicane, so Bedin's got a really good opportunity. If he plays it smart, he'll cruise up to the back of him into Parabolica, get a good run through Parabolica, and put himself in a position to challenge into the turn 1. So we're going off board now to see if we can see what's going to happen here. This is interesting, Chris. This is tense.
Yeah, Bedin very good under the brakes there, but it seemed to me that the slipstream wasn't particularly powerful there. They're obviously identical cars, but these drivers have the ability to affect their own setup.
Absolutely, so maybe there's a little bit more downforce being run, which might pay him back.
This is getting very close now.
This is the closest Bedin's been at this stage in the race. This is the closest he's been now. He's looking to push in the final 1 minute 30 seconds. At Monza, they always say you don't want to be the leader on the last lap, you want to be the car following, and maybe this is a strategic opportunity as Martin's got just over 1 minute and 15 seconds to withstand the pressure in what's been an absolutely exceptional race.
It has very high driving standards throughout and great battling, particularly through this all-important 4th place, all the way back to 9th and 10th at one point.
Yep, so there's just over half a second covering these two cars. This is where the action is at in the final few seconds of the racing. Just to quickly recap at the front of the grid, it's a done deal now. We've got over a 5-second gap between Jack, I can't pronounce the chap's first name, I apologise, and Mike Noble in P2, McFarlane looking pretty safe in P3 as well, so the attention, the focus and the fighting is absolutely on 4 and 5. Fantastic stuff. I've not got time to breathe during this race.
Switch back to Josh Martin, who's under pressure again through Ascari. Both cars as close as ever.
This is slipstream now. It's critically important. It's closing, but as you say, not quite closing fast enough.
They're going to have time for one more lap, Paul.
This is going to be a last lap fight for the final points paying, so to speak, position.
A very tight run out of the Parabolica there.
They have not been this close running down the start-finish straight now. He's got to look and make a move. This is one of his last genuine passing opportunity.
Best opportunity here.
As it goes to the inside, so Martin's left the inside uncovered, which is a surprise to me actually. I expected that to have been a keener defence. Already got the overlap, just keep it nice, keep it clean on the brakes, runs a little bit deep, he's now under pressure again. It gives racing room to Martin on the outside. They're going side by side, coming into the second chicane, so down the Curva Grande.
Martin still comes out ahead.
Fantastic driving.
3 to 4 millimetres behind.
So again, Martin goes to the inside this time. He's learned from his mistake last time. He's covering the inside of the corner, getting Bedin to go around the long way into the chicane. Bedin backs off, thinks better of it. He knows he's going to be pushed out to the sausage curbs there, so he's going to live to fight. And the only option, Chris, now is the Parabolica, surely.
This is the last chance.
This is the absolute last chance to make it clear, the final place on... Oh, Bedin's got him. Bedin's P4, Martin's P5. A change on the final lap. I didn't realise that during the transmission. I thought Martin had actually held him off, but Bedin is now P4, so it's up to Josh Martin to have a final throw of the dice to win back a 4th place and a place in the final tomorrow that is held all race. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic racing. As we cut now to the race leader, who's going to cross the finish line. Utterly dominant performance.
Aaron Jajowski has done a fantastic job. All you can do is be consistent and fast, and he's done everything that's been asked of him, Paul.
And his final lap, even on a slowing down lap to 1:48, brilliant performance. Mike Noble crosses the line in the trusty old Jaguar P2, another excellent performance. McFarlane P3.
We haven't seen much of Ross, but he's done an excellent job, kept his nose clean, kept out of trouble. And Josh Martin does retain 4th place there. I think we might have had a little bit of a glitch on the timing.
Bit of a timing glitch. So congratulations to Martin and to Bedin. That was phenomenal
That was the battle
sim
of the
racing.
race.
Without a doubt, that was. In fact, I'll go as far as saying, even though it's round one, they're going to be going some to match that this season.
That's going to be in the highlight reel
for
come
sure,
Barcelona,
absolutely for sure. And the rest of the field crosses now, so I can't quite see the screen. If you could do us a rundown of the top.
So I'll give you a rundown of the top 10. It's Jajovski from Noble, McFarlane, Martin, Bedin, Pastorino, Gamel, Verdi, Dupree and Tatelli. Although the change just between 9th and 10th, right on the last lap there, I'm not sure if that is because of the timing still remaining live.
Well, we had a talk off air before this race, and we suspected because of the amount of time these drivers have put in practicing and testing to get through the qualifying phase, we suspected this would be a highlight race, and it's not disappointing, Chris. That's been one of the most enjoyable sim races I've ever seen.
I have enjoyed every moment of it, Paul, and it's fair to say that the silver drivers, while technically they are a class down from the pro drivers in the hierarchy, they are professionals.
They're every bit as good, every bit as good. Absolutely. So, congratulations. Hats off to every single driver in that grid. There were some phenomenal performances all the way through. And that has been a brilliant race. Hope you all enjoyed it at home.